Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone. In this video, I would like to share about sociolinguistics and some things that related to sociolinguistics, such as language in sociolinguistics approach, relationship between language and society, the nature of language, characteristics of human language, language in social context, and language variation like vernacular language, standard language, lingua franca, pidgin, and creole. Before that, I would like to explain the definition of sociolinguistics first. Sociolinguistics, according to Spolsky, sociolinguistics is the study of the link between language and society, of language variation and attitudes about language. It is supported by Hudson, defined as a study of the relationship between language and social factors such as class, age, gender, and ethnicity. So, it can be concluded that sociolinguistics is the study of relationship between language and society. First, language in sociolinguistics approach. Language is one of the most direct and effective way to identify, express, and communicate within the society. It exists in various forms and its complexity prompts people to gain a deeper understanding about linguistics. At least there are three approaches of sociolinguistics. The first, the Saussure approach. Fishman stated, connotation and a variety of language is associated with speech and individual, not by language and society. The successful of communication because of uniformity and homogeneity, society use the same symbols. A symbol is something that stands in for or represents something else. Symbol can be communicated verbally, like speaking the word hello, in writing, putting the letters hello together, or non-verbally, waving your hand back and forth, like hello. Second is the approach was pioneered by William Leboeuf that emphasized to language varieties. The misconception between speakers occur because they do not have an equal sociocultural background, or that we need one main language in a country to make it easier for everyone to interact. The third is stylistic variety approach. The speakers use the language varieties in communication adapted to the situation. One of the situations is if you come to an unreachable village and they use their language more often, then you have to do your best in their language. That's why it is important that we learn the language of the area we are going to make it easier for us to interact with the surrounding community. The second topic is relationship between language and society. Language is tool for communication to creating and maintaining social relationship. Language is not for individual but also social. Language shapes society and social interactions shape language. Language is crucial for social interaction in every society, regardless of location and period. In society, we communicate with many people based on gender, age, and culture. Now we discuss the relationship between language and society based on gender. Women and men have their own styles of speaking, choosing words in different languages. In our daily lives, women are known for their soft and smooth speech, in contrast to men, who tend to often use slightly harsh language when they're speaking. It can also be distinguished from speech intonation, where men usually have a higher intonation than women. The second is age. In daily life, we have a style of speaking to our interlocutor. If based on age, we should speak politely when we interacting with people who are older than us, such as parents, teachers, or lecturers. We use formal language when we interacting with them. For example, when we greeting our lecturer on campus, we should first greet them with a smile, like, for example, hi ma'am, miss, or sir, good morning, how are you today? Different when we greet our friends. For example, hi bro, what's up? How's it going? How do you do? Something like that. Isn't it quite different, right? And then the last is culture. We are born in different places and we have our culture that is passed down by family. For example, when people from the Batak tribe interact with the Javanese, there must be differences in interaction, such as voice intonation, speaking accent, and word choice. And then the third topic is the nature of language. First is language is learned. Learning of language is not an automatic process. Of course, it is a behavior, but it is not type of behavior like walking and crawling that comes to child in natural way. Language by imitation and practice. Language is not possible without effort. So we have to practice a lot to improve our speaking skills in another language or in English. The second is language is related to the culture of society. Every language is related to culture of society to which it belongs. The culture of the people naturally influences the language. Every language is the product of society. We cannot separate language from the culture in which that language exists. It has meaning only in relation to the society and culture. The third is language is species specific. Language is species specific. Only human beings have got the gift of language from God. Of course, the other species do communicate, but only human beings can make use of language. The fourth is language is a system. Each language is a unique system. The system of language consists of sounds, structures, and vocabulary. A person who wants to learn a new language will have to learn new sounds, new structures, and new vocabulary. The sound system of language differs from language to language depending upon the culture to which a language belongs. Each language has its own system of vocabulary. Thus, each language is systematic. The fifth is language is a system of systems. Each language is a system of systems. There are phonological and grammatical systems in all languages. There are several subsystems within a language. The phonology of a language forms its own system as the various sounds function in a systematic way. The sixth is language is a the sixth is language is a skill subject. Learning of a language is a skill subject. It is skill like swimming and cycling. We cannot learn swimming or cycling just by studying rules, like just the theory. We can learn it by practice. We have to practice a lot to master them. In the same way, we can learn a language by constant practice of that language. So, a lot of repetition for major linguistic skills like listening, speaking, reading, and writing is required. The seventh is language is for communication. Language is the best means of communication and self expressions. Human beings express their ideas, thoughts, feelings, and emotion through language. In this way, language is a means to connect past, present, and future. The last is language is unique. Each language is unique because it has its own style and functioning. The sounds, vocabulary, and structures of every language have their own speciality. And then characteristics of human language. First is language is arbitrary. Language is undoubtedly arbitrary as there is no inherent connection between the nature of things or concepts the speech deals with. However, those things and ideas are expressed and there is no reason why different communities pronounce a single term differently. A word was chosen to mean a specific thing or idea in arbitrary. It might be noticed that if a language had not been arbitrary, there would have been just a single language that remained throughout the world. That is why we can consider language as an arbitrary focal symbol. The second is language is a social phenomenon. In a sense, language should be considered a social phenomenon. Language is social in our human society. It is a means of nourishing and developing culture and establishing human relations. As a member of a particular social group, we human beings interact with each other, allowing us to identify with one another and connect and coordinate with one another. This is how language is part and parcel of our society. The third is language is a symbolic system. Language signifies a symbolic system and it consists of different sound symbols for concepts, things, ideas, objects, etc. Language has sounds and words as their symbol. These symbols are picked and routinely acknowledged and utilized. The words in the language are not just patterns or images but symbols that denote meaning. The language uses words as symbols and not as signs for the concept represented by them. The core value of a language sometimes relies on the proper explanation of this symbol. Fourth is language is systematic. Although the language is symbolic, its symbols are arranged in specific systems. All languages have their arrangement of plans, and each language is an arrangement of systems. Furthermore, all languages have phonological and systematic systems, and within a system, there are also several subsystems. For instance, we have the morphological and syntactic systems inside the linguistic system. Inside these two subsystems, we have systems such as plural of a mindset or perspective or tense, etc. The fifth is language is vocal, verbal, and sound. Language is a system of vocal and verbal symbolism, and it is essentially comprised of vocal sounds just created by a physiological articulatory component in the human body. First and foremost, it shows up as vocal sounds only. Language takes verbal elements such as sounds, words, and phrases fixed up in specific ways to make several sentences. Language is vocal and sound, which is produced by different speech organs. Writing can be considered as an intelligent platform to represent vocal sounds, and it is the graphic representation of the speech sounds of the language. The five is language in social context. This is so interesting. Humans really cannot live alone, of course. If we need something, we will ask for help from other humans. It could be friends, neighbors, relatives, or even people we don't know. In daily life, we have to work to produce it all, and at work, we interact with our colleagues. When we are on campus, we have to interact with our lecturers and other friends and our friends. We need a means of communication known as language. By using a language, we can express our ideas and wishes to other people, such as when he or she needs our help. The member of the group will work closely together. The three elements mentioned above, like human beings, community, and language, are closely related to each other. When there are human beings in any part of this world, there will be a social community in which a given language is used as a means of communication by the same members of the group. The existence of a language for the community is very important. This is because in reality, as a social beings always live in a community and need a language as a means of interaction among them. In the social context, language is not only a means of communication, but also a means of creating and maintaining social relationships among speakers of the language. As an illustration, take an example. There are two people in one group, Veronica and Ayu. They are both new students at Univa. Before that, they didn't know each other. Because they have to work together to do the task, they have to interact with each other and share their ideas and information. This is the function of language as a means of communication and at the same time as this is the function of language as a means of communication and at the same time as a means of creating social relationships. If they are from the different social and geographical if they are from the different social and geographical backgrounds, they will use different dialects. Here we have what we call social dialect and geographical dialect. For instance, if one of them is someone speaking Indonesian language who is from North Sumatra, will probably use Indonesian language with a Sumatran accent spoken by people from that part of the country. And the other will probably use the other dialect, like Japanese dialect is if she or he is from Java. Now, the last is language variation like vernacular language, standard language, lingua franca, pidgin, and Creole. First, I would like to explain about vernacular language. Vernacular is the language or dialect spoken by the ordinary people of a country or region. Furthermore, this language or dialect spoken by the ordinary people in a particular country or region. In addition, the language used spoken as one's mother tongue, not learned or imposed as a second language. Vernacular language used in speech or written works, using the mother tongue of a country or region. Vernacular literature. Vernacular describes everyday language, including slang, that's used by the people. The vernacular is different from literary or official language. It's why people really talk with each other, like how families talk at home. Vernacular is different. Think of it as how friends talk when no one is listening. Vernacular language includes slang. One of the hardest things about writing for schools is getting away from the vernacular and learning to write in more formal ways that do not come as naturally. You can also say specific groups have a vernacular, meaning the unique way people in a certain region or profession speak. Vernacular usually used in daily life with acronym like congrats from congratulations, lol from laugh out loud, and accept as soon as possible. Two is standard language. A standard language is generally one which is written and which has undergone some degree of regularization or codification, for example, in a grammar and a dictionary. Furthermore, it is a language variety used by a group of people in their public discourse. Alternatively, varieties become standard by undergoing a process of standardization, during which it is organized for description in grammars and dictionaries and encoded in such reference works. Furthermore, standard language arises when a certain dialect begins to be used in written form, normally throughout a broader area than that of the dialect itself. The ways in which this language is used in administrative matters, literature, and economic life lead to the minimization of linguistic variation. Standard language, the variety of a language that is considered as a better one for its phonological, lexical, and grammatical correctness. The third is lingua franca. Lingua franca is a language or mixture of languages used as a medium of communication by people whose native languages are different. It is from language plus Frankish, and also known as a trade language, contact language, international language, and global language. The term English as a lingua franca refers to the teaching, learning, and use of the English language as a common means of communication for speakers of different native languages. The fourth is pidgin. A pidgin is language with no native speaker. It is no one's first language, but it is contact language. A pidgin is sometimes regarded as reduced variety of normal language with simplification of the grammar and vocabulary of that language. A pidgin is nobody's mother tongue, and it is not a real language at all. It has no elaborate grammar. It is very limited in what it can convey, and different people speak it differently. Still, for simple purposes, it does work, and often everybody in the area learn to handle it. The origin of pidgin comes from colonialism, trade, and slavery. Pidgin languages started to develop in areas where the colonies and traders came and settled. Pidgin is a mix of local languages with influence of English, French, Portuguese, Spanish, Dutch, Arabic, Chinese, etc. At that time, pidgin was the lingua franca for trading and a communication tool for slaves. Have you heard of this expression, long time no see? Long time no see. That's a simple example of pidgin based on English. People understand it right away, although the elaborate version of it has been a long time that I have seen you. The last is Creole. A Creole comes into being when children are born into a pidgin speaking environment and acquire the pidgin as a first language. What we know about the history and origins of existing Creole suggests that this may happen at any stage in the development of a pidgin. So, guys, that's all about my explanation about sociolinguistics. I'm sorry if I had any mistakes in this video. Thanks for your kind of attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.